Doug MPA back with another live stream. It is October 1st, 2023. And guess what's happening October 1st, 2023? Student loan payments in the United States are starting back up after 3 years in forbearance because of the cough cough. And the great philosophers Bone Thugs and Harmony said it the best when they said, ah, the bill is due, everyone. And so this isn't going to be much. I've covered the basic stats of student loan debts on my channel. We're not going to be covering that. Just a quick rundown. I think it's 1.6 or 1.7 trillion dollars in student loan debt. Women own 70% of that debt. If a woman has a master's degree, she's about $100,000 in student loan debt on average, and average woman graduates undergrad with $35,000 to $40,000 in student loan debt. So I'm not going to cover all that on here. This is purely going to be about, we're going to cover why student loan things will always be a thing in the United States, because student loan lenders make money off of lending student loans, selling it back and forth, borrowing against it, and just looking at general stories about how people in the United States are going to cope with this mess. The last 3 years, every kind of debt has gone up with the pause of student loan debts. So car loan debt went up. Consumer credit card debt went up. Mortgages went up. People's like, oh yeah, I don't have to pay my student loans. I'm going to buy a house. And I've talked to people, particularly women, who said, I thought that Biden was going to forgive all the debt. I didn't think that we were going to have to pay it. I've talked to women who their student loan debts are $300, $400, $500 a month, and they don't know how they're going to pay it. Okay. So, and if you're not from the United States, and you're watching this, student loan debt is a big problem. People just borrow all this money. College in the United States has gone up, and tuition costs from 2005, when I graduated undergrad, has gone up by 64%. From 2005 to 2021, and people keep going to college. I've said it on my channel before. If I were a young man in 2023, I just get a CDL and drive truck for 5 years, because as a man, unless you're going to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, it is not worth it to go to college. If you're a young man, don't even think about getting a business. What are the 5 guys that women always get the degrees in? Can you name them in the chat? Psychology, sociology, criminal justice, social work, and something with studies at the end. Gender studies, African American studies, Asian studies. Guys, don't do it as men. MGTOW Cowboy, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. MGTOW Cowboy has been a really good supporter of mine. He has a great Men Going Their Own Way channel, so please check him out. I'll drop the link to his stream a little later. But as we're going, I'm gonna cover all sorts of stories on this live stream. No real format here, but I'm gonna cover stories about there's a girl who helped her mom get out of student loan debt because her mom was paying student loans all the way up till she retired. Helped her mom get her debt forgiven, but then the daughter got $100,000 of student loan debt as a teacher. I'm going to cover a story where they say 67% of student loan debt borrowers are just going somehow thinking refuse to pay the student loans. Are you guys crazy? Are you crazy? Anyway, so let me know whether you're watching this now or you're watching in the future. Put in the comments or the chat what you think about these stories. I have all sorts of opinions about this, and let me tell you a little bit about my background real quick. I have a bachelor's degree uh, in public policy. I have a master's in public administration and policy, and it served me well. But I went to two state schools. I got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree for less than $35,000. I worked two jobs in undergrad, two jobs in grad school. I waited tables on and off for 10 years to minimize my debt. So I don't feel sorry for any of these people. Let me say that right off the bat. So if you say, "Oh, Doug MPA, you have to understand where these poor, especially we're going to be reading about single women and a couple of single moms, and I have no sympathy." You're going to say, "Oh, Doug MPA, you don't have any sympathy for him." No, I don't. Let's get that out of the way right now. So the first story I'm going to cover is going to talk about how Wall Street makes money off of student loans, and which pretty much means that student loan debt forgiveness was never a thing in the past, isn't going to be a thing in the present, and isn't going to be a thing in the future. So, ladies, or any of you guys, if you think that somehow student loan debt is going to be forgiven, wake up from that dream right now. So this is a CNBC documentary about how Wall Street profits from student loans. Let's go.
Student loans are a big business. The U.S. has amassed over $1.7 trillion in outstanding student debt.
Look at that, 1.76. And look at this chart. So to 2007 to 1.8 freaking trillion. And remember, a trillion is 100 billion, guys.
Until recently, it was the largest non-housing debt for more than a decade.
The first time it broke $1 trillion was back in 2012. And that's when it caught all the media attention.
And 2012 was after what? The Great Recession. Remember that? So a bunch of people lost their jobs. A bunch of women lost their jobs because women are most of their jobs are the first ones fired. And what did they do? They went back. Oh yeah, MGTOW Cowboy got it right. A trillion is 1,000 billion. Yeah, good Lord. That paints even starker of a picture. Good Lord. But yeah, during the recession, a lot of people, particularly a lot of women, did what when they lost their jobs in the recession? Went back to school. And the thing about it is school will never get cheaper if people keep paying for it. We need to have a generation of people. I mean, men, we've already started. Men, like young men, just aren't going to school anymore. Ladies need to follow the men's lead. Stop paying this tuition. It's the only way it's gonna go down. Jeez.
We've seen a big growth in the cost of education over the past 10 or 20 years, and this has really showed up in the student loans outstanding.
But while more than 43 million Americans are currently holding student debt, many...
Now there's 350 million people in America, and there's 444 million people with student loan debt.
...are unaware of what exactly happens with their loans.
I think it would be pretty difficult for the average American to try to track where their loan actually resides.
There exists a market where billions of dollars worth of student loans are packaged and sold as assets known as slabs to some of the biggest investors in America.
I would say that most average Americans are not aware of student loan securitizations.
These securities are very, I would say, not transparent, and it's hard to understanding by average investor.
You know it's not hard to understand because this is going to get really technical. I'm only going to watch like the first 5 to 7 minutes of this. They're like, oh yeah, the average American doesn't understand. Yeah, but the average American should understand that when you sign your name on a promissory note to borrow funds, you're going to have to pay it back.
So what exactly are slabs? And how does it help Wall Street profit from student loans?
Dan, good to see you in here. He says, once payment restarts, the economy will really feel it. You are 100% correct, my friend. You are 100% correct. And in that vein, I've said on multiple videos, what are you going to see in about 3-4 months from now in the headlines, guys? How student loan payments are resuming disproportionately affect single mothers. Here's how you can help. How student loan repayments are causing women to get evicted. How student loan payments disproportionately affect Black women. How student loan payments women. Blah 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 blah. That's what you're going to start seeing.
Securitization is the practice of converting assets, usually loans, into securities that can be bought and sold by investors. Wall Street uses securities to trade almost everything you can think of: auto loans, business loans, and even aircraft leases.
Let's say I'm a bank and I want to issue a bunch of loans. After those loans are issued, I can then sell them to a third party in order to securitize them. Now, just because I sold them doesn't mean that I do not get to account for the estimated value of those securities. I've just sold their interest to a third party. So it's a very lucrative arrangement for a corporation. It's a very lucrative arrangement for the investors.
The biggest
And also, so you guys remember back in the Great Recession, a bunch of the smaller banks closed down, and they were bought up by a bunch of larger banks. Well, the same thing happened during this the student loan debt pause. A bunch of the smaller student loan lenders went out of business or sold student loans to the larger ones. The same thing happened. So now you have a bunch of big student loan people with lobbyists and great interests in keeping you paying your student loans now.
and the most well-known type of asset-backed securities are mortgage-backed securities, or MBS. There were more than $12 trillion worth of outstanding mortgage-backed securities by the end of 2021.
Securitization, its history really started off with the mortgage market. And the mortgage market is a much larger market than other forms of consumer credit, especially other forms of financing of consumer credit. So that lends itself to being a much larger market.
And also, guys, what is the biggest difference between mortgage debt and student loan debt? So most of the time, when you buy a house, it's an appreciating asset. You know, there are rare instances like the Great Recession, the housing crash. And then also, your interest is fixed on your 30-year loan. It's your interest rate on the whole chunk of the loan. Student loan debt, they charge you interest every single year, you guys. So if you have a 6% interest on your loan, that accrues each year. Oh, wait. Hold on 1 second. I have to Gail just brought up the fact that I don't have the super chat button on. I haven't live streamed in a while, so let me hit freaking monetize on this bad boy. Gail at Night is in the chat. The best moderator who ever existed on the planet. She's my moderating hero. You know, I'm pretty good, but I learned everything I learned from her. So thank you for being here, Gail. I just hit the monetization button, so refresh, and you should see the super chat button. So yeah, so everyone refresh, and if you want to drop a super chat, you can go ahead. I'd really appreciate that. We're gonna watch this. MGTOW Cowboy says, remember, you used to be able to cancel your student loan debt via Chapter 13 bankruptcy. They changed the law. That is true. If you have student loan debt, $200,000-$400,000, you will die with that debt. Dan says most educated equals most debt. You're 100% true. Gail at Night, good to see you. Glad that MGTOW Cowboy is here. We're going to listen to a little more of this techno jargon, and then we're going to get into all these different cases of people complaining about having to pay their student loans back. Let's.
Student loan asset-backed securities, or SLAPs, refer to securities that are specifically built around student loans.
The way that borrowers get student loans is of two ways. If they're getting a federal student loan, they usually apply using FAFSA, right? If they're going to get a private student loan or a private credit student loan, they would apply through a bank or through a lender. The loans that are then created are bundled together into a pool. And these pools are often highly diversified by regions, by school, by borrower type, for example. And the diversification really protects the investor from losses that are idiosyncratic.
One of the worst things that you can do is get private student loan, guys. Every person I know that's gotten a private student loan said it was the biggest mistake that they made. Because private student loans, no federal assistance at all. None. So some people have gotten variable interest private student loans where they can raise the interest when they see fit. It's crazy, man. If you're going to go to school, never get private loans, ever.
They're then transferred to a special purpose trust, which is set up to hold the loans and issue the securities. Once that's done, the securities are then rated by a credit rating agency. Once they're packaged in this way, the securities are then sold to financially
economy, similar to how subprime mortgage-backed securities contributed to the crash back in 2008.
This is something that came up for me back in 2018 when I began to study student loans, and prior to that, I had been covering mortgages and specifically mortgage-backed securities. I saw the parallels and it really freaked me out because I realized that this cycle was only going to repeat.
What she's saying is the system is so big, it's going to crush under its own weight. And that's true. It's 100% true.
Key ways to uncover these similarities between student loans and mortgages is to look at the affordability issue. You have a bunch of well-intentioned people hoping that their income is going to increase. Now, when the income does not increase, you have a lot of loan debt and nothing to pay it with.
The national cohort default rate for student loans has plummeted, boosted by the payment pause during the pandemic. But the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimates that 1 in 5 student loan borrowers have risk factors that could cause them to struggle when federal student loan payments resume in October.
1 in 5. It's higher than that, you guys. I'd say 1 in 3. Once again, if you look at my channel on previous videos, I've talked about how, once again, every other kind of consumer debt has gone up. People bought houses in one of the worst housing markets ever. People bought cars. There are more people with $1,000 student loans than ever. It's crazy. Huh.
October.
I personally do not feel like
You guys still can't see my super chat button. I'm gonna play this and then look.
the inability to pay something back really needs to be scary. I think what's scary about it, and what was scary about 2008, was the tremendous uncertainty that everyone had about what valuation even was. Housing prices were falling dramatically. Nobody knew when housing prices were going to stop falling. And the reason that they were falling was because their valuation had been propped up by the mortgages that supported them. So when the ability to pay was revealed, that's when we saw this tremendous crash in the housing market.
When discussing student loan auction rate securities, a type of slab with variable interest rates, Navient, a major player in the slabs market, acknowledged that an economic downturn may cause the market for auction rate notes to cease to exist, which could lead to holders of auction rate securities to experience a potentially significant loss of market value, according to an SEC filing from 2015. But not every...
Okay, you should be able to see it now. Thank you, Gail. I appreciate it. So restart the stream and see if the super chat button is there because it should be there. Once again, Gail, you are a treasure and a jewel. Thank you so much. I haven't live streamed in a while. Oh, it's not. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep the stream going. My goodness. Give me 1 second, you guys. Still don't see it. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Earn. Says my supers are active. Shopping. Okay, let me view. And yeah, it says it's active. Anyway, we're gonna move on because I'm tired of this technical stuff here. Let me see here. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here again. I appreciate it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. It shows you supporting me what I'm doing over here. Oh, okay. MGTOW Cowboy said that he can see it now. Okay, good. So, anyway, you know, I'm gonna go a little off topic here because we're gonna get to it. But I think that you guys should. What that really outlined is that the big corporations always win. It's your responsibility to keep away from them in the first place. Okay, you really have to watch your money, watch what you're signing and stuff, because this guy here, look at this headline, guys. You ready? It says Florida legislator says Bears defensive tackle Gervon Dexter's name, image, and likeness deal violated law. So real quick, if you guys aren't familiar, a couple years ago, they made this name, image, likeness for college athletes where you can make money in college. Gail sent me a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate it. Once again, Gail, you are a treasure and a jewel. I really appreciate it. So name, image, likeness became a thing 2 years ago where college athletes can make money. Well, this guy, Gervon Dexter, signed with a speculative investment capital company while playing at the University of Florida in 2022, violated a state name, image law in place at the time. But listen to this. Dexter, listen close, guys. A second-round draft pick agreed to pay Big League Advance Fund 15% of his pre-tax NFL earnings for the next 25 years in exchange for a one-time payment of $436,485 in 2022. Let me read that one more time, you guys. Dexter, a second-round draft pick, agreed to pay Big League Advance Fund 15% of his pre-tax NFL earnings for the next 25 years for a one-time payment of $436,000. Now, he was in college at the time. He was broke. He's like, $436,000? Wow, that's a lot. But then he signed a 4-year, $6.7 million contract with the Bears in June 16th, meaning he would owe BLA $1 million out of that deal. Who's the sucker here? So let's say he signs a $20 million contract after that. They get 15% of that too. You have to know what you're signing, you guys. This goes for mortgages, student loans, credit cards. Why would he have signed this? Who was in his life that could have told him not to do this? This is crazy. So he sued, and they said that that it's invalid. So luckily he's getting out of it. But if he hadn't sued, he would owe 15% of his earnings. What an idiot. Oh my God. It looks like what happened with him was really nothing more than a predatory loan by an out-of-state LLC from Delaware. No agent involved, no good compliance, no review of a contract, any of that. It's pretty scary to think this can happen. He's done all the right things. He's succeeded. He's in the NFL, and he's got this hanging over his head. God. In February, Florida state lawmakers pulled back many of the guardrails in an updated NIL bill, including the clause that prohibited NIL deals from extending into a student loan athlete's professional career. God. Luckily, he caught this at the beginning of his career, man. And luckily, they deemed it that it violated law, because he would have been screwed. Anyway, back to student loan debt. First case. There is a dentist in San Francisco that owes $486,000. You guys ready? Case number one. Let's go.
If you have a federal student loan, got to listen up, because the 3-year.
MGTOW Cowboy, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Keeping it real as always.
If you have a federal student loan, got to listen up, because the 3-year.
Oh my goodness.
Pause on the accrual of student loan interest ended today. Payment.
Uh-oh. Why are you
also set to resume in 1 month. That'll be October 1st.
Hold on, you guys. Let me reload this bad
If you have
boy.
a federal student loan, got to listen up, because the 3-year pause on the accrual of student loan interest ended today. Payments are also set to resume in 1 month. That'll be October 1st.
It was nice while it lasted.
Yeah.
ABC 7 News reporter Suzanne Fine joins us live at the newsroom with more on what this means to students and working professionals out there.
So, Julie and Larry, today marks the first of 2 steps for restarting the student loan system. It's meant to give borrowers and servicers a chance to get back on track slowly after everything was put on pause because of the pandemic. So many students have racked up big bills because of student debt. At UC Berkeley,
It's upwards of $30,000.
Last semester, I ended up taking out about $5,000 in student loans.
for 3 years during the pandemic, the clock stopped on interest rates for federal student loans. Today, September 1st, things change.
Today marks the day, unfortunately, that interest starts accruing on federal student loans that have been enjoying a 0% interest rate. And it all
Look at her title. Institute of Student Loan Advisors President. They just make up jobs. And she probably gets paid a lot of money to be part of the Institute of Student Loan Advisors.
also
It's
marks
hilarious.
the real time to start getting ready to start making payments again.
For some, that's a scary thought, especially this student who plans to go to law school after he graduates.
It is
Biggest mistake you can make is going to law school, guys. Law school will cost you $60,000 a year for 3 years, guys. I've met people that get out of law school, $240,000, $300,000 in student loan debt. And also, the market is flooded with people with law degrees right now, man. Flooded. The days where you get out of law school and you become a partner, making $400,000 or $500,000 a year. A lot of people in law school work for some nonprofit or work for the federal government.
very tedious to worry about your studies and worrying about having to pay back, loans or debt.
I graduated from dental school in 2019.
Annalise Erickson has been a dentist in the Bay Area for more than 3 years.
I owe somewhere around $470,000 to $480,000. And I didn't take out any student loans for my undergrad. So that's all straight dental school loans. I think my largest loan is about $70,000. And that's on a 7.6% interest rate.
Betsy Mayett.
Guys, did you hear that? $470,000 to $480,000, and she lives in San Francisco, the most expensive housing market in the country. She's never going to get out, ever. She needs to pack up her stuff and run to Brazil, where she can't be extradited or something like that, man. That's her only way out. And what's about it is, I guarantee you, she's married and has 3 kids. And I'm not saying that was a bad decision for her to do so, but providing for her children and having a life, she's never going to pay that off, ever. 480. What goes through someone's mind signing all those loans, seeing it pile up? It's crazy.
Schmidt, president of Institute of Student Loan Advisors, has this advice.
Make sure you know where your loans are, which you can do at studentaid.gov. Make sure that you know what your payment is. And if you can't afford that payment, look into the various lower payment options that are available to federal student loans.
The thought of paying back student loans can be difficult to process.
In order to keep up with the interest rates, I would have to start making payments of at least $3,000 a month. That's how much pure interest.
$3,000 in interest a month, you guys. Just in interest. Did you hear that? Holy
my
moly.
loans accrue every month.
But financial experts say there are ways to make it all work out. And there is a 1-year grace period for federal student loan borrowers. For a year, borrowers who miss payments will not go into default, nor will they be reported to credit reporting agencies. Live in the newsroom, Suzanne Fawn, ABC 7 News.
Telling you, people were tricked. Old Uncle Joe was like, oh, hey guys, I can forgive you your student loans. It was a sham the whole time, you guys. And it's never going to happen. Ever. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And once again, men are just saying, we've had it. We're not going to school anymore. Get a trade. You know, drive truck like MGTOW Cowboy. You know, MGTOW Cowboy says, I just celebrated my first year in big rig trucking. I got a $2 raise. I'm up to $80K a year now. Congratulations, my friend. I remember I first met you. You just started driving, so congratulations, my friend. MGTOW Cowboy says he has no debt. Gail says just in interest, not even touching the principal. She'll take that debt to her grave. That is 100% true. And MGTOW Cowboy says this debt is slavery. That is 100% true, you guys. Yikes. And let me say it like I always do. This goes for men and women, equal opportunity. A person's debt should be a disqualifier for consideration for serious relationships or marriage, you guys. Guys, if you're sitting across from a woman who has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in social work and with $140,000 in student loan debt and she only makes $50,000 a year, you get up, no, you pay the bill, get up, and you leave. Okay? And you know what, ladies, I'll be equal opportunity. If you meet a guy that has $150,000 in student loan debt, only makes $50,000 a year, it's in some BS like psychology, you get up and leave too. Don't let anyone's debt be your problem. No way. Carlos X in the house. He says, truckers got a bad rep from the movies. They deserve more respect. You know, honestly, I think that the cough turned everything around. You know, the whole, you know, all the supply chain issues, and then that one protest up in Canada where those truckers blocked that bridge and stuff. My experience, I've seen a turnaround in respect for truckers and everyone involved in supply chain management. Gail says, get a trade, get a certification, and avoid the debt. You used to teach a lot of stuff in high school. Now you have to gain these skills in college, but you can go to a community college 100%. And Gail, you can gain these skills on YouTube. Sit your butt down, get some headphones, get 2 screens, and go on YouTube. YouTube, you can learn about 50 to 60% of the stuff that you need to know off of YouTube. 100%. Next case in point. We're going to see this girl who helped her mom pay off her student loan debt after paying for years and years and years, but then she racked up $100,000 worth of debt. So this article says the daughter who got the government to cancel her mother's debt. Susan Miskin retired from her teaching job in 2019 and didn't think she'd ever pay off her student loans. Then her only child stepped in. Yeah, so and look at them slaying the student loan debt dragon. She says, I'm going to get my mother's loans forgiven. Read the email that landed in my inbox 10 months ago. So if by May 2023, when I turn 28, you need a success story, feel free to reach out. So she was trying to help her mother, Susan Miskin, a retired New York City public school teacher, get her $92,000 balance canceled. She retired with $92,000 worth of student loan debt, you guys. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. It says she admired so Susan Miskin first started borrowing in the late 1980s to attend community college and take classes at 2 colleges in the City University of New York system to get her bachelor's degree. Pyro, good to see you, my friend. He said you have to be rich to pay off your student loan debt. 100%. Says to boost her earning potential further, she received her master's degree from Adelphi. Here it is, guys, a private university that allowed her to attend school for 9 hours each Saturday when she wasn't working. Ariana arrived in the middle of all that, and by the time she was born, Susan and Ariana's father had split up. The student loan debt, just over $30,000 in initial borrowing, paid for a Saturday babysitting in addition to tuition. So she would get up, drop her daughter off, go to work, pick her up. And then Susan worked as a speech language therapist. Okay. After that, Susan went to her second job working with autistic toddlers while her daughter was in aftercare. Guys, I don't have any children, but I've heard how much money. You think daycare costs a lot of money? I heard that aftercare costs even more. Anyone with kids in the chat, can you confirm that? Because I know that my sister was a single mom, and she had a job at night, and you have to pay more for someone to watch your kid in the evening than during the day. In the midst of all this, Susan made some choices that came back to haunt her. An employee at one of the 4 entities that has serviced her loans suggested consolidating her debt so she could make just one payment each month. This can be good advice for many people depending on the circumstances, but postpartum and sleep deprived, cry me a river. She said yes without asking enough questions. Her interest rate spiked as a result. Then in the first dozen years of Ariana's life, when expenses were high and Susan's income hadn't yet risen into more comfortable range, she frequently put her loans into forbearance when expenses overwhelmed her. During those 86 months, interest compounded and the balance grew even when she did start paying again. By the last year, it had climbed to over $90,000, even though she had made more than $30,000 in payments, you guys. Down the tubes. $30,000 down the tubes, and she still owes $90,000. I was the cliched single mom, Susan said. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. God, man. So that's the daughter and that's her mom. She stayed in New York City after moving to its less expensive outermost reaches. Because that's where her family was, because she was accruing benefits and a pension there, because Ariana eventually won entrance to a competitive public high school for excellent students. Child support, she said that she was nearly fired early in her career for spending too many days in court trying to obtain more than the tiny amount she did collect, and paid a fair amount in legal fees for her efforts. So it says she looked at the public student loan forgiveness program. Susan, however, wasn't eligible. She had the wrong type of loan and was in the wrong payment plan, among other problems. PSLF has very particular rules. That is true. So then her daughter swooped in. So she says, finally, Ariana handed everything off to one final servicer and waited months later while she was on the phone with her boss in Los Angeles, where she lives now. A text came from her mom. It was a photo of the payoff letter. The plan Ariana put into place had worked. Ariana burst into tears. Susan, who had grabbed the mail while heading out the door, held the letter aloft, whooped in joy, blah, blah, blah. I'm just so proud that she wouldn't let me give up. You guys ready for this? Ariana, who has a master's in public health, has over $100,000 in student loan debt. You can't make this up, guys. You can't make it up. So she has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in public health. She's 28 years old with $100,000 in student loan debt. The cycle continues, you guys. Even though Susan juggled loans from 2 different retirement plans of her own while trying to help with Ariana's tuition. She can't get a good job if you don't go to school, supposedly, Susan said. But you can't get a degree because you can't afford it, so it's a vicious cycle. Because Ariana works, are you guys ready? At a health-related nonprofit. However, she is close to a quarter of the way towards having her loans canceled by the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program. Now that Ariana is practically a certified expert, she feels reasonably comfortable with that debt. So she feels comfortable with $100,000 in student loan debt. God, man. Just women they just sign these promissory. Okay. I have to believe that she signed that note thinking that she's going to get married and her husband is going to help her pay it off. Because, guys, I've worked in government agencies where a whole lot of people have masters of public health, and you don't make that much money, especially at a nonprofit. If someone says that they work at a nonprofit, assume that they make less than $60,000 a year, maybe $50,000. It's crazy, dude. So she helped their mom get out of $90,000 while accruing $100,000 in student loan debt. It's crazy. Yep. Miktel asks, what the F kind of job is that? Gail says, this all seems unreal. Over $100K in student loan debt. You can buy a house in cash. 100% true. Carlos X says, in Oregon, full-time daycare is $600 to $1,000 per month. No wonder people try to scam. Carlos, that's cheap. I just moved from the Washington, D.C. area. It's $1,600 to $1,700 a month for one child in D.C. I had a friend who had 2 children. He was paying $3,000 a month for daycare for his 2 kids. Yeah, man. Says she feels comfortable with that debt, not me. My skin will be crawling. And there are multiple accounts of people just feeling like there's just a anchor around their neck, just a debt. A weight on their shoulders, and they should feel that way. God, man, $100,000 in student loan debt. Once again, that's my limit. If a woman says, "Doug and P, I have $100,000 in student loan debt," I'm gone. I'm gone. Yikes, man. So what happens if you don't pay your student loans? We're going to cover that next. Let's find out, shall we?
Clock is ticking for student loan borrowers. Payments are set to resume in October. That's going to come quickly. But as Brian Chung reports, some people say they can't afford to pay, and others say they simply won't.
Josie Bridges is a single mom living paycheck to paycheck. It's hard.
Of course she is.
Enough dealing with rising prices at the store.
My student payments are sitting right now at about $400 is what they're expecting each month. So, I mean, that's my food budget right there.
The pandemic freeze on student loan payments allowed Josie to open up her own salon in Portland, Oregon. But with 4,000...
Carlos, you know this chick? Good old Portland, Oregon. And look at the band on her purse. She's a single mom. I guarantee you she has a son. I guarantee it.
Dollars is what they're expecting each month. So, I mean, that's my food budget right there.
The pandemic freeze on student loan payments allowed Josie to open up her own salon in Portland, Oregon.
So she paused her student loan payments and opened up a salon instead of paying on the principal of her loan, guys.
But with
Oh, yeah. So she can say, oh, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner.
To open up her own salon in Portland, Oregon. But with $4,000 in outstanding debt from her community college degree, she says she simply won't be able to make the monthly payments once they resume in October.
Now I realize that it's kind of out of my hands at this point. If I can't make it, I can't make it.
There it is, guys. There it is. She's just like, oh, well, I'm going to keep my salon, although I have debt. And she's barely saying a flow. Because here's the thing with this whole entrepreneur thing. People don't understand. Most small businesses make enough for, you don't get rich off of most small businesses. Most small businesses make enough to have a decent middle class life, but you work a lot more hours than if you had a 9 to 5. But in the current environment, like because so many women want to be entrepreneurs, they make it sound so sexy and so, oh yeah, I'm going to make all this money. No, you're not. You're going to make enough money to live middle class and get by. That's what you're going to do.
Game changer.
The Biden administration's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student debt would have wiped Josie's slate clean. Instead, a challenge from 6 Republican states resulted in a Supreme Court decision in June striking down the plan after Josie had already put thousands of dollars in investments into her salon.
After she put thousands of dollars in investment into her salon. And it's funny because this is like such a cyclical thing because, okay, she owes student loans, right? She can't pay them because she put money into her salon. Now, I guarantee you so she owns a salon and she requires customers to come into her salon. But I bet a bunch of her customers have student loan debt too. So the money that they were going to spend on her salon, they can't afford because now they have to pay their student loan debts. And now she's going to go out of business. Just watch.
I'm disappointed and I'm confused. It's too inconsistent. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and that's kind of scary.
If the administration was able to cancel all the debt, what would that have done for you?
Giving me financial freedom.
The median student borrower has between $20,000 to $25,000 in outstanding debt. And for those over 40...
Now, guys, that's outstanding debt, not debt, period.
million borrowers, they're going to be facing interest accrual beginning in September, with the first payments in over 3 years due in October.
It is officially time for a student loan repayment boycott.
Some taking to social media calling on borrowers not to pay.
Does the U.S. government just think we're going to go back to paying student loan payments? Like what? It's going to ruin my credit score?
Yeah, actually, that's what it is. That is the grim reality. And hey, guys, you know what? If you work for the federal government, it costs you big time. You can lose your job if you get behind student loans. So yeah, they're gonna expect you to start paying your loans back. I see all this stuff on TikTok. If we all unite, yeah, try that and see what happens.
Education Secretary Miguel Cardona says it's a risk people shouldn't take.
The loans are still there and the repayment is still needed.
Failing to pay comes with serious consequences. Those in default face wage garnishing and big credit score hits. But for now, the government says borrowers won't face those penalties if they miss payments.
We know many of our borrowers are going to struggle to make payments, but we want to make sure that we're not sending their name to credit agencies. So we're going to hold them harmless for a year as they're getting back up.
Among longer-term options for relief, see if your employer offers repayment assistance programs and consider the SAVE program, which adjusts monthly bills based on borrowers' income. Josie's weighing her options, but says it's going to be tough either way.
At this moment, it's either come up with money to pay for these now student loans that I'm having to pay, or make it to where my business doesn't function as it needs to.
One of millions bracing for the debt cliff this fall. Brian Chung, NBC News, Portland, Oregon.
One of the biggest differences between men and women is women feel obligated and feel entitled to pursue their dreams, even when it's not practical. Guys, and if a guy does that, if a guy is 35 years old and he's still trying to chase a rap career, we laugh at him. If a guy is 35 years old and he's still trying to open some kind of crazy business or something like that, society and his friends will tell him, look, bro, if it hasn't happened by now, it's not going to happen. You need to get a freaking job. but she gets to have her little salon that's not making any money. She can't pay off her debt. She can barely survive, and she just feels entitled to be able to do it. My advice to her would be, you know what? Close your salon, get a real job. Costco is hiring. How about that? I'm going to open a salon because it's my dream. And didn't we just go through the cough where everything got closed down? All these customer service places got closed down. And you're going to open a salon after that? How many more salons does a major metropolitan area like Portland need anyway? And she's not making any money, so it's all about her being able to say, I have my own salon. I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. God, man. Ugh. Frenchie is in the house. We can form the Megazord now. Good to see you, my dear Frenchie. Carlos X says, human nature is amazing. Yes, it is. McTab Cowboy says, at one time I had over $8,000 in credit card debt, paid it off. Good job, my friend. Good job. Frenchie, good to see you. McTab Cowboy says, tell her to save money by skipping meals. She could use it. Ooh. Carlos X actually lives in Portland, so whenever I see Portland stories, I always think of him. I interviewed a lot of salon owners 5 years ago for benefits. Okay. Next case. Once again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And how do you feel about the whole student loan repayment thing? Are you hardline like me, where there shouldn't be any student loan forgiveness? Because guys, I know too many people that took out more than their tuition to live a lifestyle while they were at school. That's where all this debt comes from. It's either one, you went to a private school, or two, you went to a public school and you took out the extra money to pay for your lifestyle. Those are the only two scenarios. Only two. Okay, this one. Okay, this is another one talking about what's going to happen when the student loans start back up.
Of many of you struggling to pay off your student loans. I'm Alan Devlin.
I'm Sean Gables. Loan repayments begin Sunday, the same day the government could shut down. Nearly 28 million people are expected to start paying back their loans. Payments were paused during the pandemic. Now they're back, and a lot of folks are not prepared. Atlanta News First, Brittany Ford, live in Atlanta tonight near Georgia State University.
So, Brittany, the impending loan payments could be a double whammy for some federal employees who aren't going to get paid if the shutdown happens.
They averted a shutdown by passing a continuing resolution until November 17th. The biggest hang-up was that they wanted Democrats and moderate Republicans wanted to put $6 billion more dollars to Ukraine, and extreme Republicans didn't want it in there. So they conceded on the $6 billion for Ukraine for now, but they want to do $6 billion for Ukraine. They want to do a couple of more billion dollars to other foreign countries, and then I think they want to do something with the to pay for the immigrants coming into this country too. So those were the big hang-ups. But anyway, let's keep going.
Well, Alan, yeah, shutdown or not, student loan repayments will still resume next week. And it's not just government employees. Many Georgians are still trying to figure out how they're going to pay this. We looked into what you need to know. Faith Kent is a sophomore at Georgia State University.
I probably say like $14K in loans.
So she's a sophomore, already has $14,000 in student loan debt.
Joshua Lill, a Georgia Tech alumnus.
I think I left Georgia Tech with about $25,000 to $30,000 worth of debt.
been slowly just chipping away.
For both, navigating the looming October 1st restart of student loan repayments is top of mind. For Kent, it's working to get ahead before graduation.
So right now, I'm currently paying for my private loan.
For Lil, managing a
That private loan's going to come back to get you.
household budget.
A lot of adjusting and seeing what can go where.
But it's important to know you do have options. So what if you can't pay? You can head to studentaid.gov where there are a variety of repayment plans, including a new program rolled out by the Biden administration called Saving on a Valuable Education, also known as SAVE. And what if you miss a payment?
One thing the Biden administration did announce was that there was something called an on-ramp, which was a recognition that a lot of people who are starting repayments might mess up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's say you miss a payment. Well, they're not going to report it to a credit agency. They're not going to put your loan into default.
At the end of the day, it's a reality most aren't looking forward to.
The on-ramp was putting them in forbearance during the cough in the first place. You have the opportunity to do nothing but pay down your principal. And people just squandered it. It's crazy. Garrett Grant, thank you so much for this. I think that's a super sticker for the donation. I really appreciate it. Frenchie says, I owe a lot. My courses were expensive, and Frenchie lives in the UK. Good Lord, so this problem is everywhere. And Garrett Grant, thank you for being here to support. I really appreciate it.
Kind of hoping for the best.
It sucks. It sucks.
And if there is, in fact, a shutdown, you could see potential hurdles in trying to reach the Department of Education. Potential furloughs could lead to how quickly you could reach a representative and or complete an application process. We're live in downtown Atlanta tonight. Brittany Ford, Atlanta News First. Brittany.
Guys, a little side note. Who in the chat has been to Atlanta? Okay. I just moved to the South, 2 months ago, and I spent a little bit of time in Atlanta, and I've never been to a city in America that's like Atlanta. And I don't really know what it is. It's just so different. And the traffic is the absolute worst. The absolute worst. Yeah, let me know if you've been to Atlanta. Oh, Gail used to live in Atlanta. What were your impressions of Atlanta, Gail? Because I spent a little bit of time there the last couple of weekends. I have a couple of long last friends there. I know there's a lot of traffic. You know, I grew. I've always hung out in predominantly white areas. You know, and like 50% of Atlanta is black. So you know, it's well, I guess Baltimore is predominantly black too. But Atlanta's not like Baltimore. Like I said before, Atlanta is a whole different type of animal. It's crazy. I don't know how to describe it. Oh yeah, Frenchie. Oh yeah, yep. They call it the San Francisco of the South, 100%. And yeah, it's LGBT HGTV and Transformers all over the place in Atlanta. So be careful. And then also the STD rate. I think Atlanta is in top 3 of HIV infections, the herp derp, all that stuff. Be careful, guys. Be careful. And ladies, same thing. Be careful, ladies. Yikes. Next case. This one's called We Can't Pay. A growing wave of student loan borrowers are on the brink of a boycott, survey reveals, while many may refuse to resume repayments as October 1st looms. Okay. Gail says, I'm pretty easy to satisfy. I live near the interstate, so traffic wasn't an issue for me. My favorite grocery store was conveniently located there as well. What grocery store was it? Because honestly, guys, my favorite grocery store, I just moved from the DC area, but there's a grocery store based out of North Carolina called Harris Teeter. And It's right below Whole Foods, but it's above like Safeway, Albertsons for Frenchie. Harris Teeter. I don't know what store in the UK is like above Tesco's, but like it's one of those places where it's affordable, but still tries to have like organic stuff and like natural stuff in it, but it won't break your paycheck like Whole Foods will. We call Whole Foods whole paycheck. Oh yeah, Publix. Yeah, Publix is fantastic. MGTOW Cowboy says, I've never been to Atlanta. MGTOW, you're not missing anything, bro. Said there's a whole block painted rainbow colors in Atlanta. Yep, I saw that. And then it's just Publix, my apartment had a nice gym, so I didn't have to drive there either. Okay, good. Okay. U.S. President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan was stalled, so payments are going to start back on the 1st. 29-year-old Shahem McLaurin took to TikTok to ask hard questions about whether borrowers like him should protest what many view as systemic unfairness by refusing to pay back their loans. Are we not paying like collectively as a whole, he said in the viral video, meaning if you put a payment down, you are breaking, you're crossing the line. How are we going to move? Because they can't keep getting away with this stuff. Actually, yes, they can. If we don't pay, they are the ones who are going to have to suffer, not us. Yeah, let's see how that works for you. Half of the Intelligent.com survey respondents believe a boycott could lead to total debt forgiveness. However, there are risks involved in refusing to repay student loans and why so many borrowers might just do it anyway. Millions of Americans collectively owe $1.6 trillion in student loans, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and borrowers under the age of 40 owe 55% of that total debt. Millennials like me have gone through so many economic crises and watched these corporations and banks get bailed out, says Amanda Acevedo, a 37-year-old radiographer from Orlando. Meanwhile, we can't pay the student loans we are told we needed for success. Acevedo, only reason why I know how to say that is because I spent 2 years in San Antonio. It's Acevedo used the loan repayment pause to save up for a down payment on a house. You see this, you guys? This is the problem. This is the problem. Acevedo used the loan payment pause to save up for a down payment on a house. Now the mother of three I'm sorry, you guys, is expected to pay $412 every month towards her student loans. The Education Data Initiative also reported that the average federal student loan borrower has $37,388 outstanding, and the average private debt is $54,900. Guys, never get private debt, student loans, ever. Yikes. Yep. Carlos X says Peter and Paul are going to be pissed because most of the time you rob Peter to pay Paul, but Paul can't afford it and Peter can't afford it. Says, meanwhile, many borrowers are generally in worse shape to repay these loans than before the start of the temporary repayment pause, which the Department of Education implemented in 2020 in the early days of the cough. According to a June CFPB report, about 2.5 million student loan borrowers had at least one delinquent non-student loan as of March of this year, an increase of around 200,000 borrowers. God, man. For those likely to resume student loan payment, the median monthly payments to these non-student debt obligators have increased by 24%. Young borrowers were hit especially hard as they saw an increase as much as 252% in their median monthly payments from $65 to $229. Yeah, man. Ugh. Borrowers who choose to participate in a protest or otherwise fail to make payments could face severe financial consequences. For one thing, withholding repayment can make a typical student loan much more expensive in the long run, given that the interest would eventually start to stack up. Here it comes. In certain circumstances, lenders can even garnish up to 15% of the borrower's wages to repay the student loans in default. 19 states have laws that can suspend or even revoke a delinquent borrower's private licenses. Oh my goodness. Affecting those with occupations such as firefighter, nurse, teacher, lawyer, and even barber. Oh my. Did you guys know any of this? You can get your law license taken away. You can get your nursing license taken away. You can get your medical license taken away if you go into default in 19 states. Oh my goodness. I've been told I have quite the laugh, Frenchie. Says, Mick.com says, I think we should forgive all the student loan debt and make working Americans pay it. Okay, so let me tell you guys one thing. If you want to talk about a stimulus in economy, paying off student loan debt would be I'm not for it or against it, but let me paint the case here. You guys ready? Try and guess what percentage of a dollar that Americans put in their savings account each year. So for every $1 the average American gets, try and guess how much of that dollar Americans put into their savings account. Try and guess, everyone. Any guesses? Any guess? Any guess? I'll just say it. 7 cents. Americans save 7 cents for every dollar they make. Right? So, in essence, if you were to forgive student loan debt, people wouldn't save it because Americans don't save anything. Rich people save. Americans don't. No, I'm sorry. Rich people save, but like middle class and lower class don't. I'm sorry. So, if you forgive student loan debt, people will as they have been since the loans were paused, they will put that money into the economy and buy stuff because people have been buying stuff this whole time. So you could argue that. Now the only problem is the inflation from in the short and intermediate term of just forgiving $1.7 trillion would be severe. You talk about how gas prices went up during the cough. Forgive student loan debt and see how far gas prices go up, or how apples and oranges and furniture at IKEA. But you could argue if you do forgive student loan debt, people ain't saving that money there. They're gonna go out, buy cars, buy houses, do all that stuff like they've been doing. Okay. I think that people should still pay it off, though. I'm just laying out the case. Okay. The government also withholds Social Security benefits, which can impact the finances of millions of borrowers over the age of 62 who have an average outstanding student debt of 41. The average person over 62 has an outstanding student loan debt of $41,700. So they hit retirement age with $41,000 worth of debt. You guys, oh my goodness. Gosh. Also, 23% of the $1.6 trillion of total debt is held by borrowers over the age of 50. Can you imagine staring down the barrel of retirement? You're 65, and you're still staring at $41,000. Actually, we can, because the previous story with the girl and her daughter, her mom retired with $90,000 in student loan debt. So the way forward, Biden's going to try and do this $20,000 thing, I guess. Well, he made moves, and that was shut down. He's now implemented that leniency road, like landing pad thing or whatever, give him some breathing room between October 1st, 2023 to September 30th of 2024. Private loan borrowers might have the option to refinance their loans ahead of repayment and restart that SAVE program. Yeah, so about 4 million borrowers have already been enrolled in that SAVE plan already. Guys, yikes. It's just, what is going through these people's minds when they sign these promissory notes? I can't think of the thought process. Because I remember Penn State is the most expensive public institution in the United States. For junior and senior year, you'll be paying $1,150 a credit to go to Penn State. It is not uncommon for people to leave Penn State $80,000 in student loan debt for undergrad. How is that even possible? Like, how is that a regular thing? But people do it. Another case in point, you guys. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you think about this in the chat, because this is crazy, man. And I have student loan debt. The only reason why I still have it is because my work is giving me payments to stay employed there as long as on my day job, as long as I meet performance metrics, which is really easy. Okay. There's another one. It's going to talk about what's going to happen to retail and the economy. No, we'll do this one. Gen Z is burdened by student loan debt, and now many are facing payments for the first time. So, once again, there are people that started college or graduated college during the cough in the 3 years and never had to pay the student loans debt, never had to make a student loan payment. Yeah, well, now they do. It says in the first week of October, Kennedy Quintanilla, thank you, Texas, will do something she has not had to do since graduating from college 2 years ago. Make a student loan payment. Reality is setting in. Quintanilla, a 2021 graduate of the University of Texas at Austin with over $26,000 in student loan debt, told Good Morning America. It's extraordinarily stressful. As someone who graduated college amid the cough, Quintanilla, 24, will be one of thousands of borrowers making their first ever student loan payment in October when payments resume after a 3-year pause. First-time payments are particularly impacting members of Gen Z like Quintanilla, who were born after 1996, who are on track to be the best educated generation in American history. Like someone said previously in the chat, best educated but the most in debt. They're a generation who entered college at a time when tuition rates were at record highs and who graduated at a time of economic uncertainty due in part to the cough. As of this year, nearly 7 million borrowers aged 24 and younger owe more than $97 billion in federal student loans, you guys. Oh, my God. Oh, and I wonder how the conversations are going to go when dating between the members of Gen Z now. Like, are you going to bring up your student loan debt on the third date or the fourth date? Do you talk about it after you smash? Do you talk about it before you move in together? Like, hey, how much student loan debt do you have? I have $40,000. How much do you have? I have $50,000. Oh man, they always, guys are asking, oh yeah, when do you make the first move? When do you lean in for a kiss? Choosing signals about how much debt she has. You know what I'm saying? You guys, a person's debt is a reflection of their decision-making process, of what kind of life you are going to have to live with that person. So if a person has all this debt, run far away. It's a staggering number that left many members of Gen Z generation disenfranchised, according to Vivian Tu, a personal finance expert. They've never seen the economic system really work. Boomers, Gen Xers could get degrees for relatively little money. get good jobs where families could live comfortably off of one income, and they get to have 2.5 kids, a golden retriever, a white picket fence, and a tire swing dream. But then millennials did all the right things, but lived through significantly more financial hardship, such as stagnating wages, 10 times the price of education, 3 times the price of housing, and the housing crisis. That is 100% true. 100% true. MGTOW Cowboy says, read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It'll open your eyes. I've read that book. It's a good one. MGTOW Cowboy says, I met a young man with over $100K in student loan debt. He went to DePaul University in Chicago. Yep, he's screwed. And Carlos X says, it has to be talked about. Men should put on their dating profiles 10K student loan debt at most, for example. Yeah, could you imagine? I think that if you put that on your student loan, on your dating profile, they would take it down. It's the same as, if you were to say, I don't want fat chicks or something like that. You know what? I'm going to drop the link. Anyone that wants to come up and talk about this, I think it would be a good part of the conversation, because we are an hour and 15 minutes in. I think this has been good so far. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And if you have any questions about student loans or want to share some stories, please do. I knew a guy. He was going to go to military. He was going to be an officer in the military. And instead of going to military academy, the military was paying for him to go to this private university in Massachusetts to get a degree in government contracting, because that's what he was going to do with the Air Force. So he went freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. And this is like one of those private, like super expensive schools. And junior year of college, he decided to not go into the military. So he finished out his degree, and his bachelor's degree was $250,000, you guys. And he had to pay for it because he didn't want to go into the military after he graduated college. It's crazy. He's done for. She continued, Gen Z is now seeing these 2 or 3 generations before them and are really starting to feel like higher education may not be worth it. Correction, men in Gen Z are now seeing 2, 3 generations before them and are really starting to feel like higher education may no longer be worth it. You still have so many women that are like, I'm going to get a degree and I'm going to save the world. No, you're not. And us men, we know that. A lot of us, we will settle for a job that gives us the means to be able to provide for ourselves and our families. But women have this romanticized idea, especially, look, okay, I'm going to put out the race card just this once. We have too many black women in our community that get careers in social work, psychology, counseling. I'm going to give back to the black community. Yeah, what good is that going to do? How are you going to pay your bills on giving back to the community? You're not. So you're going to get all these you're going to pay for all these skills and get a job that barely makes you anything, and then kill yourself, with stress, giving back to the community. It's crazy. So if Biden's plan would have gone through, it would have paid off all of Quintanilla's debt, but it didn't. She said, pretty much all my friends had to take out loans in order to be in school. She said, we operated the first 2 years of adulthood out of college, free from payments. Now that most of us are pretty established in our careers, we're having to go back and evaluate because it is not like how it used to be. So that's her right there. And then some financial advice giver on TikTok said that for this generation in particular, starting monthly student loan payments after a 3-year pause is causing a financial fallout. I think people have been, for the past couple of years, creating their budget under the expectation that they're not going to have to pay these student loans. There it is, you guys. There it is. I told you. There it is. Comfortini, who graduated from college in 2021 with $38,000 in student loan debt, said they have things like rent, a car payment, those big fixed expenses that they've already locked themselves into, like buying a house when you're in your late 20s, committing 30 years when you can barely make enough money to pay for yourself. And now they need to also factor a big fixed expense in a student loan payment. So then they have one more case here. Alex Espinosa Acosta, a 2022 graduate at the University of Texas of Austin, said he is facing $25,000 in student loan debt at the same time as his mom, who graduated college while he was in high school, and she continues to pay off her remaining $50,000 in student loan debt, you guys. Oh my God. So he moved back home to help his family. He said, though he knows student loan payments are resuming, he has not yet paid attention to what his first payment is due because he doesn't have the money. Oh yeah, that's smart. With the work I've gotten, I can barely make ends meet. I got a bartending job to prepare myself for the payments. I've been trying to find full-time work, but just haven't been successful. I've had so many interviews and just haven't landed anything yet. Okay, and we got to get into this. Overall, women hold nearly 2/3 of the $2 trillion outstanding student loan debt in the U.S., and black women are the most likely of any gender group to have student loans because, of course, they are. With 1 in 4 black women holding student debt, according to data from U.S. Census. Okay, we'll read this last one. It's a concern for Megan Kane, a 23-year-old black woman who said she is also still watching her parents who are in their 50s pay off debt. Wait a minute. Wait. What is this? I can see it, I guess. Yeah, the hair. Yeah, I guess. That's for a whole different. I'll let go of that. Kane, a 2022 graduate of Georgetown University, said she will begin paying off her $28,000 student loan debt at the end of October, a monthly payment that she estimates she'll continue to have to pay until at least 2038. And the immediate future is less eating out, careful budgeting, and taking very careful track of where my money is going so my payments don't get into default. Kane, a foreign service major. Wait, did it say what this kid majored in? Let me see. Where it says that? Where is it? Full-time work. Acosta said many of his friends. Let me see. Does it say his major? I think it was international relations. Let me see. While in high school, moved back to San Antonio's family. He does not have the money. Oh, here it is. Acosta, who majors in, here it is, guys. Government and international relations. MGTOW Cowboy, thank you for being here, my friend. I really appreciate it. I'm off the Golden Corral to spend $22 on a nice buffet because I have no debt. Tell those student bums to start paying their debt back. All right, MGTOW Cowboy throws a couple of haymakers on his way out the door. Government and international relations, you guys. That's his major. And then hers was, what was hers again? A foreign service major. What's she supposed to do with a degree like that? And then, of course, I've been studying for the GRE and really hope to go back and get a graduate degree. But I don't know if that will be a possibility for me because I really can't afford to take on any more student debt. Guys, I don't feel bad for him. I just don't. No sympathy over here, you guys. None. Okay? Like, move back in with your parents. I worked 2 jobs all the way up until I was 32 years old, man. And it's funny because that's one of the reasons why I do YouTube. Like, I have this weird thing where I have to quell that need to like produce more and get a second job because I'm at a really high level in my day job, but I do YouTube videos and I study for these YouTube videos, and even now I feel like I can work more, but I'm getting older and stressed and all that stuff like that. Guys, once you hit 40, it starts going downhill, you guys. You're not able to do the same things that you used to do, and you value your sleep and you value your personal life. I'm telling you, man. So let's do one more case here. And once again, like the video, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Let me see where this okay. This is what's supposed to happen if to retail when the student loan payments start back up.
Guest says brands such as American Eagle Outfitters, Carter's, Crocs, Foot Locker, many of the ones that Courtney had.
Wait, American Eagle Outfitters is still around? Really? You guys remember in the 90s and 2000s, all your friends who shopped at what? Hollister, American Eagle, Abercrombie and Fitch. What are some of the other ones that were in the 90s and the early 2000s? God, I can't believe they're still around, especially with all the malls being closed down. I guess they're still chugging along.
Next guest says brands such as American Eagle Outfitters, Carter's, Crocs, Foot Locker, many of the ones that Courtney had mentioned will actually be impacted by the resumption of student loan payments in October. Joining us.
Yeah, Carlos says the Gap. How is the Gap still around? When's the last time you stepped foot in a Gap? Frenchie, if they have the Gap in the UK, put in the chat if they have the Gap in the UK. I'm pretty sure they do, though. That's probably a dumb question.
Joining us now is Michael Zakor, 5 New Digital founder and author of The New Retail. Michael, great to have you with us. It sounds like a big deal, and it may in fact be a big deal, but there's actually a 12-month grace period for folks if they don't pay their student loans before it hits their credit score. So I'm wondering how you assess the actual impact immediately.
Yeah, listen, even with the grace period, this is going to have an immediate impact. We're hitting the fourth quarter here. This is make or break time for every retailer and brand in America. Most brands make and retailers about 70% of their yearly income in this coming quarter. So the timing of this really couldn't be worse. Listen, CNBC has been doing a great job of covering this. We've seen Cameron McNair report that 56% of borrowers are going to be choosing between groceries and paying back their student loans.
56% of borrowers, you guys. That's crazy.
70% of college students with debt saving, who are coming out now are afraid for their careers. And so you have this double whammy of two groups really being hit hard. You have millennials who are in their 40s with their own kids going back to school. You have recent graduates. This is going to be a disaster for retail in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, on top of this, households largely have spent down their excess savings from the pandemic, according to the San Francisco Fed. So that's another headwind here in terms of the overall retail puzzle. Are we going to see the most of the impact here for holiday, for Halloween and holiday? I mean, most of back to school is done, so maybe they've spent that.
Yeah, we're going to really see this come to the fore during the holiday season.
So you know what this means, guys? Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oh, please help all the single moms out there. Please help all these families, the single moms or the women who can't afford presents for their family and their loved ones. I'm telling you. You're going to see GoFundMes all over the place. You're going to see all this, all these campaigns to get money out of the people who are responsible, who kept themselves low debt or debt free. They're going to try to extract as much money out of us to give to them through shame, insult, guilt, all of it. So be on the lookout, you guys.
If you look at what's happening here is we're just becoming a debtor nation, right? And so is this going to have a huge impact on overall holiday sales. No, but it's one more pinprick into the balloon that we're hoping is going to be full for the season. I mean, we're talking about $32 trillion in U.S. debt, household debt of 17 trillion, credit card debt of 1 trillion.
Hear that? Household debt of 17 trillion, credit card debt of 1 trillion. It's crazy, dude.
And lo and behold, student debt is $1.5 trillion. So even more than credit card debt in the U.S. And so we were telling these mixed messages where we're saying, hey, go out, get educated. That's the key to a great life in America. And then after you get educated, go out and spend, because we're a consumer-driven economy, and we're making it impossible to get an education and spend at the same time.
Carlos, thank you for the $5 super sticker. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't want to minimize this issue in any way, but in some respects, I feel like we're setting up for, the excuses to start flying from some of these retailers come the next reporting season, right? You're already hearing about shrink being an issue, the degree to which we're not exactly sure, and retailers who have never mentioned it before are now mentioning it. Now I can see a scenario in which this becomes one of those line items of concern that we start hearing about in the months ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Shrink has been the narrative. We had a lot of retail earnings come out last week. Most of them were not good. We've seen, Target take a hit, Macy's take a hit. I think the trend that we're seeing there is the traditional middle of the road retailers are suffering. They continue to suffer. I think it's less about outside forces like shrink. I think, inflation is still putting pressure there, but eventually you're right. The excuses run out, right? So there's inflation, there's shrink, there's student loan debt that they deal with. I think the bigger issue here is there are a lot of retailers in the U.S. who have simply not adapted to the way people shop, where they shop, how they want to shop. This is a much more integrated retail world. It's the integration of online and offline and technology and content.
Okay. And also, people checking the news about all the theft, you guys. I've done stories about theft in Portland, theft in Seattle, pretty much California, Oregon, and Washington, because they just let anyone steal there. Anybody. And you're going to see more of it, because I think most people are going to be able to pay their basic necessities, but the luxury items that they were buying during the cough, they're just going to steal it now. So, instead of buying themselves Jordans, they're just going to steal them now. Handbags, anything like that. Yeah, they're just going to steal it.
And so we see, a lot of companies who are doing really well. Luxury has never lost any of its steam. Luxury is doing well. The dollar stores, the value stores are still doing well. I think it's a lot of that boring, middle of the road, unimaginative retail.
Well, Michael, sorry to, we just
Well,
saw
I think
Dollar
they're going to-
General down. It was a disaster in yesterday's session, and it was not the only disaster quarter-wise. I mean, it was a string of quarters that were
Yeah,
disaster.
When the dollar store stock is down, there's a problem, you guys.
Absolutely. But I think what they're going to see is they're going to, over the next couple of quarters, see that step back up.
They're just going to talk about the retail numbers. Guys, once again, I don't feel bad about people not being stuck with all the student loan debt. You never should have put out all this debt in the first place. You do have options. You know what? If you ever your own apartment, move back in with your parents. You and your wife, or ladies, you and your husband. Like, we're one of the only cultures where that's not acceptable. Get a second job. You can get plenty of second jobs working from home. Customer service, Amazon. They'll send you a headset. But we're just not going to pay it. Okay. Get your wages garnished 15%. See what happens there. Am I crazy for thinking this? I don't think I am. Once again, I have student loans. but I paid them down. I'm almost paying them off. My student loan debts are not anyone else's problem, and I hate the fact that the narrative is that people's bad decisions are supposed to be your problem. That's what makes me angry. So, one last call for anyone that wants to come up for the link. And if not, I am going to close down the stream here. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to try to go live Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern. It just work's been kind of busy on and off the last couple of weeks. And then I kind of want to find... I kind of really want to settle in as to what I want to talk about for 2-3 hours, because I kind of keep things succinct and to the point. And so, I can go through a whole lot of subjects in like a small amount of time. So anyway, I got to find something that I can talk about for 2-3 hours. Anyway, well, thank you for tuning into my live stream. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching this after the fact, let me know what you think about student loan debt in the comments. I think next week, I want to revisit Kevin Costner's divorce and Tom Brady's divorce, because if you guys didn't know this, Giselle made a statement saying, you know what, it's kind of hard out here dating. And Tom Brady is dating some 25-year-old model because he can, and she's kind of upset about it. And also, our favorite person, Lizzo, is being sued by another dancer person. So that makes 6 total. Anyway. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to close it down. Have a good rest of your Sunday, everyone. See ya.